good here last year, actually.
Really
For the whole game.
But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's do it like that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, that's
Hey, good afternoon.
Can we roll? If you give it a shot, you guys are all set up at the back, please.
Yep.
Right. Happy to hear it.
Yeah, that's nice to see you. Have a good 2 weeks.
It's been nice.
Didn't fancy running around Norwich then, no?
Oh, it's not for me.
Maybe next year,
To be honest, I actually think to do 10k, you actually have to be quite a decent runner. I'm fine with 5. I try to do it a couple of times a week, but 5 is more than enough. So.
Would that be the first time you've ever started a race?
Yeah, it was. But it was a great day, fantastic. I think it was also a good day with the sun out and so many runners. So it was a great day.
Yeah, bring it back to the most important one. Start with the fitness as 1 or 2 sort of lines came out for the international period. Kenny McLean, let's go through that. What's the latest on him? We saw he looked like he had to come off in that Scotland game.
Yeah, I know he felt a little bit just before halftime in that game. And I think also could have also been because he was a little bit tired. It seems like he's okay. We assessed him this morning, and he was in the training.
Just to clarify, what was the issue? Did he feel
some hip pain? Some can be just soreness, tiredness. So I think he's okay, and I think he will play on Saturday.
And then the other one, obviously, Josh didn't play, but
no.
There's a bit of reports from the American end, maybe an ankle issue there.
Yeah, he felt something in his ankle in one of the sessions after the first game. Again, I think it was also a decision based on how many minutes he could actually expect on the second game, and I think the decision was that it was okay for him to go back home and take care of that ankle and really not to take any risks. So I think if everything goes well and according to the plans that we at least have, then he will be in training tomorrow and hopefully also in the game Saturday.
Okay, well that's good news. Yeah. Is it not related because we know he's had almost probably back to?
No, it's actually it's the other angle, this one, so it's not related to that.
Yeah, which is good in the sense of managing that. Ben Kraseni, I think I'm right saying, was he initially in England's elite squad and he pulled out?
Yeah, he was, and he pulled out, and also with some pain, but again also to take really no risk, and there was a conversation between him and of course the federation what would be best for him, and the best was not for him to go and play games. It was actually to take care of that smaller injury. But he's also been in training, and he was also a part of training last week, so he's also fine.
In terms of any of the other lads who are away international wise, they've all come back okay as far as you're aware?
Cooney, Grant, yeah. It seems like they're okay. Only one we're waiting for is O'Neill. He will be in the building tomorrow. But he's should also be fine. Forson also fine, even though he didn't play any minutes, which was, I think he hoped for minutes, of course, and we also expected that he would participate in the games, but unfortunately not. But he's also ready.
What's your approach with those games as their club coach? I mean, are you all over all the games and watching them and maybe through your fingers, hoping you don't get an injury, or do you just wait for others maybe in various football departments just to let you know what's going on with those players?
The most important for us is, of course, that they come back and are fully fit and can participate in games and trainings. For us, that's the most important part. But then, of course, also to pay respect to the national teams. It's big games for the countries and fans, and also the players. So I try to watch as much as possible. Watch the Scotland game against Portugal, and also try to watch some of the younger guys playing for the youth national teams as well, which is as important, and also for them to get game minutes, which is important for them. So I respect the national teams. It's a big thing to represent your country, and we should also have respect for that. But of course, end of the day, I hope they come back and are fully fit.
And you referenced it there, players maybe who might need a few minutes, and you touched on the Scotland game. I'm just thinking with Grant, he's not quite been in it since Oxford.
Yeah.
He goes away, plays 2 starts for Scotland.
Yeah. Important for him, important for the Scottish national team, and for us, very good. So he comes back, and he's even more ready to push for a position in the starting 11.
Just back back to sort of fitness situation, could we just get an update maybe on Barnes, Sorensen, Fashionat?
It's the same. I think maybe Lungi is a little bit ahead. I think maybe we can expect for him to be in training a little bit next week. Fasi is, I think he's just according to schedule, so it's still a couple of weeks before he will be in training. And I think Barnsley had a little setback just before the national team break here, where he was actually, everything was fine, and we pushed him a little bit on pitch, and he did some running, and it was maybe a little bit too much for him. So we had to take a step back. So I think it's also a couple of weeks for him.
From this point?
Yeah, from here.
Yeah. In terms of this 2 weeks, sort of joking aside, what you might have been able to get up to, or maybe switch off a little bit, but I remember saying to you straight after the commentary game, you fancied another game. You said, look, there's too many games in England anyway. I'm looking forward to 2 weeks with the non-internationals on the training pitch. So
that's how the schedule is. So instead of wasting time on thinking, okay, it can be like this or it can be like this, no, just it is how it is. And I think it was also important for us to go into detail with some of the new players, and fortunately they were here. So we've had some very good sessions, a little bit more individually based, a little bit more individual focused than compared to when everyone is in. So I think some really, really good days, and really some days where we could go into detail with a lot of stuff.
What about away from the training pitch? I'm just interested, is that 2 week period, is that an opportunity for you, maybe you and your coaches, to have to free from the kind of cycle of preparing for games, playing the games, maybe just have a review how the season's gone so far, what you're going to dial into going forward?
Yeah, it gives us these natural breaks where we just discussed the first games here, and also the cup games, and just looked at them data wise, style of play wise. Where are we? What can we expect from the next games? Also, just to have some reflection on what we have done so far and how we have performed, and so on. So it's actually okay once in a while to have these small breaks, but it's also sometimes also when I have questions about the national team break, it sounds like it's just one big vacation for the ones not being on the national team, but of course that's not how it is. So we spend the days just like a normal day, with the preparation and with the feedback to the players that are in the building. But what is important for them and for us is that we actually now have even better time to take care of 10, 11, 12 players and spend time after the sessions as well. So hopefully it's been well spent for us and for the players, and I actually think it's okay for when we look at the season that we have these breaks in between.
Without, obviously, you wouldn't expect you to go into the details of what you and the coach have discussed, but just in terms of that overview, are you happy where you felt you might be going into that first international break?
I would have had more points. I think if we look at the outcome in maybe 1.5, 2 games, I think we should have had more based on the chances created, based on how the games went. So that's one thing. Then I think offensively we can still improve. We have to be able to create more and bigger chances based on the situations that we actually get ourselves into. So that's also a focus area for us. I think defensively we're getting better. We're improving. We're being more solid also in the low defending part. So I think what we did was to just have an overall look on how we do things and how we have performed so far, and where to put our main focus in the future.
And it's safe to say now that transfer window and all that went with it, that's behind you now. You've got this settled group of players now until January at the earliest. Do you feel all those processes you talked about now, this block of games, I know there's 2 more international windows coming up, it doesn't help, but does this feel now this run into Christmas is where you can get that consistency in terms of all those things you talked about?
We hope so. Still with the understanding that there's a lot of difficult games, and most likely there will be games where we don't perform to our standards, but we have to make sure that we are up there as much as possible. And also, even though result can sometimes be a win, it can be the opposite as well, but we look at the performance and see how we can actually improve and become better. So even though we won in Coventry, it's not been like a just one big party in here the days after. No, we just look at the performance, and there was a lot of things where we can do better, and we can make sure that we next time we play can have even higher standards. So that's how we look at it. Of course, important for us to get that win. Of course, important for us that we can keep building. And I think what's what we see at the moment is also that we're getting closer to what looks like a starting 11 for us, and then of course there will be a couple of changes, especially when we go into 2 weeks with 2 or 3 games. But what we have now is a foundation, is a base in the team, which is important.
I didn't want to dwell on Cole, but I mean, you touched on it there. Very good performance and result in the end. But at half time you made those 2 changes, and Anthony came off and Mankwer, and you were very candid and said after the game that it wasn't really delivering what you felt you expected from them, and you made the changes, and obviously we know what happened in the second half. But just particularly with Anthony, and I know he's probably been one who's been away with Croatia, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But do we externally, do people have to maybe just remember this is a very young man, new country, new experiences? There is a price tag on his head, and that's not down to him. That's what the 2 clubs have agreed.
Exactly.
But just maybe a little bit of patience with a player like that.
Exactly, and that's again all these. You're talking about price tags. That's how it is, and of course, the better a player performs, the higher price. That's normally how it goes. We have to take care of him. We have to understand that he's new and everything is new to him. I will actually say that he surprised me in a positive way with his performance against Sheffield, because he had 1.5 training day here and everything was new to him, and he just stepped into a completely new country and city and a stadium for him. So I think that was actually quite positive, and it's normal for him just to not a setback, but now it's actually it's reality. It's what happens here. So we have to be patient, but of course also fair enough that we expect something from a good player. We just have to find that right balance and support him as much as possible.
Can you just give us an insight to the type of character he is and how he will handle all these new experiences? Is he a very self-confident young man?
He's very, how do you say that? He's very easygoing, and he's not a big voice in the dressing room where he's just loud and creates a lot of attention to himself. He's more like focused on his performances and on his daily job, but he's really nice and very easy to work with. So I think that's exactly what we need for in the group, and I think what we see in the group at the moment is that we have a lot of different personalities that can support each other in the best way.
Just a more experienced lad, but still relatively young. But Anis, he came in during that half time. And looked very comfortable with Kenny, with Marcelino, and it probably had not had much training time with them either. I mean, is he? Although he looked comfortable, is he another one? You look at last season, he only made 4 starts, I think, for Sheffield in the Premier League.
Yeah.
A bit of time as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that's of course what we have to look into and prepare him. I just spoke to him today because he also, there's some areas of his also physicality and his game where we can improve it, because for us he needs to be a player that can play 35 games, 40 games in a season, and so far in his career he hasn't done it. So of course we have to prepare him for that. We have to develop him for that, because that is needed with a player like him and his position in the team and so on. So it was a good step and it was a good performance. But again, good things take time.
Just one on, you said you've had a chance to work with some of the younger players, the newer players, Cader, Gordon. What's your first impressions now you've had him in the building for a couple of weeks? Yeah,
but he was also away with the national team, so it was the first session that he have had so far with the team. So good first impression, and also a guy that was really keen on coming here, which I think it's important. And also, like I mentioned, what we see in the team and in the group at the moment is really there's a big desire. There's a really there's a great dynamic in the group at the moment, and the players that we got in was really eager to come here. So I think that's important, but yeah, he looks promising, and I think we can expect that he quite fast will step into the group and get game minutes.
Moving it forward to Saturday, Swansea.
Yeah.
What's your analysis sort of taking away from what you've seen from them so far?
Yeah, I think if you go back to the Coventry game, I think what I said to players in halftime was that I was not satisfied with our pressing game. I think we allowed them too many passes on their half, but also it was too easy for them to actually enter our half of the pitch, and that was why in too many occasions in that game we have to sit back in our 4-5-1 lower block structure and more like defend, even though we didn't concede too many and too big chances, but still it was too many moments in the game where we have to do like this, and that's not our ambition. So what we have to be really well prepared for going to Swansea is that our high pressing needs to be very good, starting directly from goal kicks, but of course also open play situations, that we are more front-footed, that we are more aggressive, that we play with more intensity in these moments. So that's been a big factor going into the game Saturday.
And in terms of them as a team, I mean, they lost narrowly at West Brom, who were a side you'd expect
Yeah.
to be up there round about.
Yeah.
The game before was their derby, so safe to say this is another difficult championship game in prospect.
Like all the others. So that's how it is. Again, what we can do is prepare best way possible. Make sure that everyone is fully committed and understand the game plan, so they can execute it and they can do it with that freedom. I think we especially saw in second half in Coventry, and that's important for us. And then of course all the small details in the game, we have to be on top. We have to make sure that we are strong in the duels, that we are strong in tracking back when we have to, that we are fighting every these situations with second balls and stuff like this. We have to be strong in that phase of the game as well, because it's going to be these small things that will decide the game.
Thanks, Pat. Anything from ITV? No.
Thank you.
Okay, if we could have the cameras off then, please. And then Jack, if you want to jump in.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
And you're still in shorts?
Always. Genuinely, until the clocks go back,